You can stay for a moment. Everyone else can go. Yes, even Becca. I just need a word with you before you head out. Don't look so nervous. It's not about performance. At least not officially. I just noticed something today. You and Becca, you seemed very aligned in that meeting. Every time she spoke, you nodded, you agreed, you backed her points before I even finished making mine. That's new. You've never done that before. Not with her. Not with anyone, actually. You're usually the one challenging ideas, questioning details, keeping people sharp. And yet today, it felt like you were both moving in rhythm, like you'd rehearsed it. It was subtle, but it was there, and the strangest part is, I couldn't stop watching it. Maybe I was just curious, or maybe I didn't like it. I don't know. I don't usually question these things. I just move on, evaluate, recalibrate. But today, for some reason, I wanted to understand it. You can relax. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just noticed. And when I notice something, I don't ignore it. That's all. So, sit. Please. Let's talk. You know, Becca's good at what she does. I can see why people like working with her. She's confident, polite, just the right amount of charming. She fits in. She blends. But she's not like you. You're sharper, quieter, more deliberate. You don't try to impress anyone. That's why I notice when you start to. You think I didn't catch that little smirk you gave her when she cracked that joke about the client? You laughed, just a little. And I swear it was the first time I've seen you actually let go in a meeting. With her, not with me. Not once. Funny, isn't it? I built this entire company on keeping emotions out of the room, on staying in control, on never letting anyone see through the cracks. But lately, it's like you're the only one who could if you wanted to. The only one who actually could. And maybe that's why it bothers me. Not because you did anything wrong, but because it reminded me how easy it would be for someone else to take your attention. You don't even realize how different you are when someone earns that, how your tone changes, how your eyes soften. I see it. I saw it today. And for 1 second, I wished it was me making you look like that again. I don't lose control. That's what I tell everyone. That's what they believe. I run this place. I make the rules. I decide who rises and who falls. And I do it without hesitation. But the truth is, every time I look at you, I feel something I can't manage on a spreadsheet. Something unmeasured, unprofessional. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Sitting here trying to sound composed while my thoughts keep circling the same person who somehow manages to undo me without saying a word. I saw the way you looked at me when I said stay. You were cautious, but curious too. You know there's something under my tone that doesn't belong in an office, something I shouldn't let slip. But here I am, letting it anyway. And the more I tried to rein it in, the more I realize I don't want to. Maybe that's the real problem, that I don't actually want to be the one in control when it comes to you. Maybe I want you to see me like this, a little unsure, a little human, maybe even a little jealous. But I won't say that out loud. Not yet. I'll just sit here pretending this is still about work when we both know it isn't anymore. You know what the problem with you is? You make people feel seen. And you don't even mean to. You just do. You listen in a way that makes people forget they're supposed to be careful. You look at them like you actually care about what they're saying. And then suddenly, they start saying things they shouldn't. That's what you do to people. That's what you did to me. And I hate admitting it, because I built this entire world to make sure no one could ever get that close. Every piece of glass in this building, every rule, every unspoken line, it's all there to protect me. To remind people who I am, what I am. Untouchable. But you walk in here and smile like you belong. Like you've been here forever. You don't teeter, you don't overcompensate, you just exist. And somehow that's enough to throw me off balance. You don't even know how different you are. When you talk, everyone listens, even me. Especially me. I should be focusing on numbers, deadlines, the next pitch. But instead, I'm sitting here remembering the way your voice softened when you spoke to her. The way you both leaned over that file, just close enough for me to notice. And I told myself it was nothing, that it didn't matter. But it did. It does. Because you've never done that with me. Not like that. You've always been so careful, so respectful, so maddeningly professional. And I've told myself that's what I wanted. Distance, boundaries. But then I saw that shift, and I realized I missed it. I missed being the one you looked at like that. I missed the sound of your voice when you were still trying to impress me. And I know how pathetic that sounds coming from me, but here I am, saying it anyway. Because apparently, you're the only person left who can make me forget how to protect myself. You really don't, do you, realize what you do to people? You just walk into a room and everything bends toward you. People start changing their tone, their words, their posture. They all start orbiting you without even knowing it. It's subtle at first, but then it's there, undeniable. And I tell myself I'm different, I'm the exception, that I'm above that kind of reaction because I'm the one who gives the orders. I'm the one who controls the rhythm in this building. But the truth is, you've been controlling it for a while now. You don't use authority, you use presence. You don't demand loyalty, you earn it. And it infuriates me because it's effortless. You make people care about you without even trying. And when I saw Becca trying to stand in that same light today, I could feel it, that ugly, uninvited heat crawl up my chest. Jealousy. God, I hate that word. I hate that it fits. I was jealous, not because she was good, but because she was close. Because she got to hear you laugh in that easy way I haven't heard in months. I sat there pretending to be focused on the numbers, but I couldn't hear a thing. My mind was just noise. I kept thinking about how easily she could get that reaction out of you. How I used to. And it's stupid, isn't it? I could end her career with one email, one meeting, one look. But instead, I'm sitting here wondering why she gets your attention when I can't even ask for it without sounding unprofessional. That's what you do to me. You make me hesitate, you make me second guess, you make me feel. And that's the one thing I swore I'd never let anyone do to me again. But here you are, and I can't seem to make it stop. You know, there's this moment right before I say something I shouldn't, or I can feel the words pressing against my teeth, begging to be spoken. It's like standing on the edge of something high. You know you shouldn't jump, but the thought still tempts you. That's what this feels like. You sitting there, calm as ever, and me trying to convince myself that this is still just a conversation between a boss and her employee. It's not. It hasn't been for a long time, has it? I keep reaching for that professional distance, and every time, my fingers just brush against it before it disappears again. You have no idea how hard it is to keep control around you, how much effort it takes not to show what's really going on under the surface. I tell myself it's just exhaustion, just stress, just another late night. But deep down, I know it's you. It's always been you. The way you listen, the way you stay quiet when I'm speaking but still manage to make me feel like I'm the one being read. And tonight, with everyone gone and this silence wrapping around us like it's waiting for something to happen, I can't help but wonder what would happen if I just stopped pretending, if I just let the words out. But I can't, can I? Because the moment I say them, everything changes. You stop being my escape, and you become my risk. And I'm not sure which one scares me more. So instead, I just stand here, breathing you in, fighting with myself, pretending that I haven't already crossed a line that was never supposed to exist. Almost. That's all it ever is with you. Almost. There are things I don't say in this office. Things I can't say. Because the second I do, everything I've built here starts to crack. You see, people listen to me because they think I'm made of steel. They think I don't feel, that I don't bend, that I don't bleed like the rest of them. And maybe that used to be true. But lately, I'm not so sure. Because when I see you, when I hear your voice drifting across the room, calm, steady, grounded, it does something to me I can't explain. It's like the air changes, the walls soften, the noise fades, and suddenly I'm not the CEO anymore. I'm just a woman standing in front of someone who sees through every layer I've spent years building. You don't even know what you do when you look at me like that. You make me want to stop performing. You make me want to tell the truth about how exhausting it is to be strong all the time, how lonely it feels up here. But then I stop myself because I can't give you that kind of power. I can't let you see how much space you take up in my head. So instead, I talk about Becca, about work, about meaningless things that sound like control. Because the truth, the real truth, is far too dangerous to touch. Not here. Not with you looking at me like that. Do you know what your biggest flaw is? It's the way you look at people. You look like you actually mean it, like you're listening, like you care. And maybe you do. Maybe that's just who you are. But when you look at me like that, I can't breathe. It's different. It's too much. It's too honest. I can feel it right under my skin. The way your eyes stay just long enough to make me forget what I was saying. I should tell you to stop. I should remind you that I'm your boss, that there are lines that can't be crossed. But the words never come out. Instead, I just stare back, pretending I'm unaffected. Pretending that this silence between us isn't saying everything I'm trying to hide. You make it impossible to think clearly. I start wondering if you know exactly what you're doing, if you can feel this tension too, the one neither of us will name out loud. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just being kind. But God, kindness feels like cruelty when you're trying this hard not to fall apart. So I look away, force a smile, say something meaningless to fill the air. Because if I don't, I'll end up saying the one thing I've been biting back since the day you walked into my office. That I haven't stopped thinking about you once. Not for a single day. You know what I think sometimes? I think I built this company just to have something I could control. Every project, every decision, every outcome, all of it predictable, all of it mine. And it worked. Until you. Until you sat in that chair and looked at me like I wasn't just another authority figure barking orders. You saw me. You see me. And it's infuriating because now everything feels unpredictable again. I'm losing ground. I can feel it under my feet. Every time you speak, every time you walk past my office door, something inside me stirs. It's not supposed to. I'm not supposed to care. I'm supposed to maintain order, balance, distance. But tonight, with everyone gone, with you sitting there quietly and me rambling like I don't recognize my own voice, I think I've already lost the fight. There's a pull I can't ignore anymore, no matter how many times I tell myself it's wrong. It's in the way you lean forward when I speak, the way your jaw tightens when I get close. The air between us feels charged, heavy, waiting. I tell myself to breathe, to stop before I say something I can't take back, but it's too late, isn't it? I already have. I've let too much slip. You know now. You must know. And somehow, part of me doesn't even care. I've tried to figure it out. Why it's you. Why, out of everyone in this building, out of all the faces, all the voices, all the people who try so hard to please me, it's your name that sits at the back of my mind long after I go home. It doesn't make sense. You don't flatter me. You don't chase approval. You don't even seem to care that I'm your boss. Maybe that's what it is. That quiet defiance. That subtle way you remind me I can't control you the way I control everyone else. Do you know how rare that is? People fold around me. They do whatever I ask. They give me whatever I want. But you challenge me just by existing. And I think that's what started it. That need to understand you, to figure you out, to find a way to make you bend without even realizing it. But somewhere along the line, I stopped wanting to win. I started wanting to know. I started waiting for those small moments when you smile, or when your voice drops a little lower than usual, or when you catch my eye across the table and hold it just long enough to make me forget what I was saying. And then today, watching you with her, I realized how deeply that need runs. Because it wasn't just jealousy, it was fear. Fear that maybe you'd finally found someone who could read you the way you read me. And I hated that. I hated how much that scared me. There's something I want to say that I can't. I can't because the second I say it, it becomes real. And once it's real, I can't take it back. You'll know, and then I'll have to live with that. I'll have to live with you looking at me differently. And I don't think I could handle that. Not from you. You're the only person here who still looks at me like I'm human. Everyone else sees a title, a paycheck, a problem to please. But you just see me, and that terrifies me. Because the truth is, I like it. I like it too much. I find myself waiting for excuses to call you in after hours, for reasons to ask you questions I already know the answers to, just so I can hear your voice. Sometimes I'll draft a message to you and delete it before I hit send, just because I realize there's no professional reason to send it at all. That's how far gone I am. I keep pretending this is temporary, that it's just curiosity, admiration, something harmless. But every day it gets harder to lie to myself. Every time you walk into my office, the air changes. I do. And I can feel myself slipping. I can feel the words pushing against my lips, the ones I'll never say, the ones that would ruin everything if I did. There's a line between us. I drew it myself. I built it. I reinforced it. And now I can't stop staring at it. It's invisible, but I can feel it, right there between us. That space I'm supposed to protect, the space that keeps me safe, but it's shrinking, isn't it? Every time we talk, every time you hold my gaze a second too long, that line fades a little more. You're not even doing anything wrong. You're just present. And that's what breaks me. Because I want to be near you in a way I shouldn't. I want to hear what your voice sounds like when you're not choosing your words so carefully. I want to know how it feels to let my guard drop completely and not have to apologize for it later. But that can't happen. It can't. Because the moment it does, I lose everything. This company, this control, this version of myself I've worked years to build. Still, I keep imagining it. I keep imagining you standing up, walking closer, closing the distance until that line doesn't exist anymore. I keep imagining how it would feel to finally stop pretending. And the worst part is, I think you'd let me. I think you'd let me cross it. And that thought alone is enough to make me lose my breath. I could stand here forever and listen to the rhythm of your breathing. And somehow I want to. I know how absurd that sounds coming from me, the woman who built walls out of meetings and memos, the woman who taught herself to measure worth in output and outcomes. And yet, here I am, craving the tiny human things I always told myself I wanted to avoid. When you lean forward at a table, when your brow furrows because you're thinking, when your voice goes softer for a moment, those are the things that reach me. They bypass everything I constructed to protect myself and go straight to whatever this is, whatever this mess of feeling is that I'm terrified to name. I imagine being closer to you than is polite, not for anything dramatic, not for scandal, but just close enough to catch the little sounds you make when you're concentrating, close enough to see the way your throat moves when you swallow, the way your jaw flexes when you hold a sentence back, close enough to know you in a way that has nothing to do with performance reviews or quarterly targets. That thought is both ridiculous and irresistible, and every time it comes, I have to remind myself of the line I drew years ago, the line that keeps everything orderly. But the line blurs when you're near, and sometimes I forget which side I put my foot on. Tell me something. Tell me if I'm making this up. Tell me if you feel the way the room tightens when we're alone. Because I can't be the only one pretending nothing has shifted. You don't have to say anything dramatic. I'm not asking for declarations. I just want a flicker of honesty, a look that says you noticed me noticing you. Maybe you're aware and you're kind and that's all it is. Or maybe you feel something sharper, something that hums when our gazes snag on each other. I keep rehearsing ways to ask without appearing weak, to probe without losing authority, and it's exhausting. So I'll be blunt in my own way. I like you. I like the way your presence unsettles me, even though I spend half my life convincing myself that being unsettled is dangerous. I like the idea of you not as an asset on a chart, but as a person who could read me and still choose to stay. That admission is terrifying because admitting it would make it real, and reality complicates strategy. Reality asks for decisions I'm not sure I want to make. It asks me to risk what I built for something smaller and infinitely more precarious, for a single honest connection. And yet, saying it out loud feels freeing in a way I didn't expect. There's a point where being near someone becomes dangerous, not because they will hurt you, but because proximity makes everything unguarded. I can feel that point right here, like a pressure behind my ribs that wants to crack me open. When you move, the air between us changes shape. When you spoke, the world narrows until it's just the two of us and the terrible, beautiful possibility of something neither of us has named. I think about what would happen if I let go for a second. If I stepped across the line and let my guard drop entirely, would you step back? Would you step forward? Would you laugh and clap your hands like this was an amusing experiment and then retreat to whatever safe distance you prefer? Or would you close that space with me, cautiously, carefully, as if we were both learning how to breathe in a new room? The thought makes me dizzy. It also makes me honest. I can't promise I won't be messy. I can't promise I won't be scared. I can promise that for the first time in a long time, I'm tired of always being the one who has to decide. I'm tired of being alone at the top. Maybe I want to share it. Maybe I want to learn what it is to be near enough to someone that the line doesn't feel like a rule anymore, but a choice we both make. And that choice terrifies me more than any failed quarter ever has. You know what no one ever tells you about power? It's lonely. You fight for it, you build a life around it, you use it to keep people at a distance, and then one day you wake up and realize there's no one left close enough to whisper to. That's what tonight feels like, a quiet room full of echoes. I keep thinking about what happens after this, after these words, after this strange honesty between us. Tomorrow we'll have meetings and people will talk numbers and projections, and I'll have to pretend this conversation never happened. I'll have to walk back into that world of polished smiles and deliberate silence, and you'll be sitting there, taking notes, pretending you don't remember the sound of my voice right now. And maybe that's the safest thing for both of us. Maybe this should live only in the space between tonight and morning. But a selfish part of me wants something to survive the sunrise. A glance, a pause, something small enough to hide, but big enough to mean I wasn't the only one who felt this. I want to believe that when you look at me tomorrow, even from across the table, you'll still hear this moment in the quiet between my words. There's a softness I forgot existed. It's strange to feel it again. You bring it out without trying. I spent years sharpening myself until every word cut clean. I wanted to be efficient, precise, respected. But I forgot that sharp things draw blood, even when you're careful. With you, the edges dull a little. I catch myself laughing at something small or letting silence stretch instead of filling it with orders. I hate that it feels like relief. It shouldn't. Vulnerability was never part of the plan. And yet here you are, undoing it in slow motion. I wonder if you can tell how my voice drops when I speak to you, how my hands stop moving because I'm afraid you'll notice they're shaking. I try to cover it with words, with control, but you keep listening like it matters, and that makes it worse and better. I keep thinking about what it would mean to stop fighting it, to let softness be strength for once. It's terrifying, it's tempting, it's probably foolish. But the idea of going back to who I was before you walked in here feels heavier than it used to. Maybe softness isn't a weakness. Maybe it's the part of me I buried to survive. And maybe you're the reason it's finding its way back. If I could ask you one thing tonight, it would be simple. Stay. Not because I'm your boss, not because I need another report reviewed, but because the thought of this room without you suddenly feels unbearable. I won't say it out loud. I can already hear the scandal in it, but I think you can read it in the way I keep pausing before every sentence, like I'm waiting for you to give me permission to keep talking. You don't have to answer. You don't even have to move. Just don't go yet. Let me have a few more minutes of pretending that the world outside this door doesn't exist. I'll go back to being her, the composed one, the leader, soon enough. But right now, I want to be this version of me, the one who's allowed to sit in the quiet and admit that she's tired, that she's scared, that she wants something that doesn't fit neatly into policy or reputation. If I could ask you for anything, it would be that. Just to stay long enough for me to breathe like this again. Long enough for me to remember what it feels like to be real. There are things I never say out loud. Not to anyone. Not to the board. Not to my friends. Not even to myself when I'm alone. I tell the world I'm fine. I tell them I like the quiet. That I like being the one in charge. The one who doesn't need anyone. But it's a lie I've gotten too good at. The truth is, sometimes I get home and it's so quiet that even the sound of my keys on the counter feels too loud. I make tea and I don't drink it. I stand by the window and stare at the city lights, pretending they're people I can talk to. And I think about days like today, about meetings where I act like everything's perfectly under control, while my chest feels like it's full of static. And then there's you. You walk in and suddenly it stops. It's like the noise just fades. You don't fix it. You don't fill the silence with meaningless words. You just exist in it with me. Do you know how rare that is? To be around someone who doesn't need to do anything to make things better. You just are. And it's enough. That's what I'll never say out loud. That maybe for the first time in years, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. I'd rather be here with you. You could have left by now, but you didn't. And that means more than I can explain. You're just sitting there, quiet, calm, patient, and I can feel it. I can feel you listening, even when I'm not saying anything. It's strange how presence can be louder than words. Every second that passes, this room feels smaller, softer, safer. I'm not used to this kind of safety, the kind that doesn't come from power or control, the kind that comes from being seen, from being understood without judgment. I don't know how you do it. I've spent so long making sure people only see what I allow them to, and somehow you slipped past all of that without trying. Maybe that's why I asked you to stay. Maybe it wasn't about Becca or the meeting or any of the things I pretended to care about an hour ago. Maybe it was just about this, about needing someone to see me and not flinch. And you haven't. You're still here. You're still looking at me like I'm not unraveling in front of you, like I'm still whole. Maybe that's what staying really means. Not fixing, not rescuing, just being here, long enough for me to remember that I'm still allowed to breathe. I keep wondering what you're thinking right now. You're quiet, too quiet, and I can't tell if that means you're uncomfortable or if you're trying not to break the moment. Part of me wants you to say something, anything, just to ease this tension, but the other part of me doesn't, because if you speak, it'll make it real. And I don't know if I'm ready for real. This almost honesty, it's safer. It's suspended somewhere between confession and control, where I can still pretend I'm the one steering this, but we both know I'm not. You've been steering it since the moment you didn't leave. Since the moment you looked at me and didn't see a title, didn't see a threat, just me. And I can feel myself giving into that. Slowly, carefully, but completely. You don't know how close I am to saying it. The one thing I shouldn't say. It's right there, behind every breath, every pause. I'm holding it back because once it's out, nothing goes back to the way it was. But God, it's getting harder to stop. You make it harder to stop. And maybe I don't want to anymore.
I can't keep circling it anymore. I can't keep pretending this is about anything else. I've tried to stay composed, tried to speak like a boss, tried to act like you're just another employee sitting across the table, but you're not. You never were. You changed the way the air feels in this room. You changed the way I talk, the way I think, the way I breathe. I used to plan every word, every look, every silence. And now with you, I just talk. I just exist. You've seen parts of me that no one else even knows are there. You've seen the cracks in my confidence, the hesitation behind my calm, the way my voice trembles when I'm fighting not to say what I really want to say. And the truth is, I don't want to fight it anymore. I like you. Not the way people like their colleagues, not the way people like someone useful or talented or impressive. I like you in the way that keeps me awake at night, wondering how someone managed to get past every wall I built. I like you in the way that terrifies me, because it means you could hurt me without even trying. And yet, somehow, I still want to let you closer. I want to trust that maybe this doesn't have to ruin everything. Maybe this is the one thing that could actually make it all mean something. I've spent my whole life being careful with my words. I've shaped them into weapons, into shields, into tools. But these are different. They don't feel calculated. They feel real. And that scares me more than anything. Because if I say it, you'll know. You'll know how much you matter to me. You'll know how deeply this has already gone. And then it won't be something I can hide behind meetings or sarcasm or professionalism anymore. But I can't hold it in any longer. So let me say it. Let me say it while it's still quiet, while the world outside this room is still far away. I like you. Not the version of you that people see in conference rooms, but the version that stays after hours. The version that listens without judgment. The version that makes me forget how tired I am. I like you in a way that feels terrifying and peaceful all at once. There, it's out. The words are in the air now, and I can't take them back. But somehow, I don't want to. For the first time in years, the truth doesn't feel like a weakness. It feels like freedom. It's strange how quiet it feels after the truth comes out. I thought it would be chaos, regret, panic, something. But it's not. It's just still. You're still here. You haven't moved. You haven't said anything. And somehow that silence feels like an answer. It's calm. It's grounding. It's everything I didn't realize I was asking for. I can feel the weight slipping off my shoulders, one careful breath at a time. And I know things will change after this. They have to. But right now,
In this moment, I don't care. I don't care about policies or perception or any of it. I just care that you're still sitting there, that you didn't leave, that maybe you understand me more than I expected anyone ever could. Maybe that's all I needed. Not a promise, not an outcome, just this, a moment of honesty that doesn't end in judgment. I can live with that. I can breathe in that. For tonight, that's enough. It's strange to realize the night is almost over. The city outside feels quieter now, like even the lights are listening. I can see the first hint of dawn creeping past the blinds, and part of me wants to freeze it right here, before the world wakes up and demands we put our masks back on. Because that's what will happen, isn't it? The meetings, the glances, the pretending. We'll go back to the rhythm everyone expects from us. And this, whatever this was, will fold itself neatly into memory. But I don't think it will stay there quietly. It will hum under the surface, in every conversation, every shared glance, every pause that lasts a second too long. And maybe that's okay. Maybe not everything that matters has to be public. Maybe it's enough to have this one truth between us, quiet, private, real. I'll walk into tomorrow a little lighter, a little less guarded, and maybe no one will notice. But I'll know. I'll know that for one night, I let someone see me completely, and the world didn't end. That's more than I thought I'd ever have. I can't promise you anything grand. Not security, not forever, not even clarity. My life doesn't work like that. But there are smaller promises I can make. I can promise that this won't be forgotten. I can promise that every time I speak to you, I'll remember this version of us. Honest, unguarded, awake. I can promise that I'll try to be kinder, softer, even when the world demands sharpness. That's the part of me you've changed. You've reminded me that strength doesn't have to sound like steel, that sometimes it sounds like a quiet voice admitting it doesn't have all the answers. I can promise that when I look at you in meetings, I'll still see the person who's stayed. And maybe you'll see me too. Not the role, not the armor, but the person behind it. We don't have to name it. We don't have to define it. Just let it exist, quietly, between us, like a secret that keeps both of us human. That's the promise I can keep. I can hear footsteps down the hall now, people arriving early, the building waking up again. It's time. Time to put the mask back on, time to open the door, time to step back into the version of myself that everyone expects. But before I do, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for staying. Thank you for listening when I didn't know how to explain myself. Thank you for letting me be human for a few hours. You don't have to say anything. I wouldn't know how to answer if you did. Just remember this. Remember that there's a part of me that's still learning how to let people close, and somehow you made it feel safe to try. When I walk out there, I'll be her again, the one with the calm smile and the steady voice, but under all that, there'll be this. You. This night. This conversation that shouldn't have happened but did, and I'm glad it did. So go on, open the door, let the light in. We'll step back into the world like nothing changed, and yet everything has.